Womanjika, buongiorno, g'day, baloa chen. Welcome to all the residents of the city of Greater Dandenong and welcome to the Forever Fest. My name is Roberto d'Andrea. I'm a critically endangered Melbourne tram conductor, a Connie. I'd like to pay my respects to the peoples of the Kulin Nation, elders past, present and emerging. Our little video is called Yarraman, Eumemering and Dandenong. It's a tribute to the 4 major creeks that run through the city of Greater Dandenong. We're going to start at the gutters and the drains. We'll look at rubbish that lands in the gutters and ends up down the stormwater drains. We'll be at the other end where those big stormwater pipes meet your local creeks. And we'll follow the local creeks and have a look at the birds and the frogs and the lizards that are living along our natural creek corridors. And we'll end up down at Port Phillip Bay, where the Dandenong Creek and the Eumemmerring Creek meet in Banghome, and where they form the Patterson River. We want to take you from land to the sea, because what we do on land affects how we live down by the sea, how healthy our fish are, how healthy our water birds are, if there's a lot of plastic floating in the ocean. So thanks, Forever Fest, Yarraman, Eumemering and Dandenong. So this is where the pollution that we find in the city of Greater Dandenong's creeks comes from. Gutters and drains. Now in the short walk we've had along this suburban street footpath, we've found a bit of soft plastic, a chip wrap, an aluminium can, a cola bottle. Now if this stuff after the next rainfall comes down the gutter and into the stormwater drain, it'll end up going down through those big stormwater pipes into our local creeks. A hard plastic bottle like this can travel a long distance. So for instance, if a car runs over it and it breaks into pieces, goes into the pipe, a little piece of it, a fish might think it's a bit of food. If it's a bit of soft plastic that comes down the gutter and goes into the drain and ends up down the Patterson River in Port Phillip Bay, a dolphin will think that's a bit of food as well. Birds, seabirds are mistaking floating pieces of plastic for food. So to care for our natural world, to care for the Edithvale-Seaford Wetlands, to care for Port Phillip Bay, to look after the the Yarraman, the Eumemering and the Dandenong Creek, we need to keep these gutters and drains clear of rubbish. Because after the next fall of rain, down they go and the water takes them into our natural world. This is called pollution. Welcome to central Dandenong, and we're looking at 2 classic stormwater drains. So if there's a lot of rubbish in the gutters and it's collecting at the stormwater drain and it's going down the pipes, this is where it ends up. It flows into the Dandenong Creek. Now you can see with the rubbish that's happened on the last rain event, on the other side of the road, there's lots of plastic bottles, there's bits of chip wrap, there's foam, there's all sorts of rubbish that's come out of the gutters, into the drains and ended up on the bank of the Dandenong Creek. It's this that we want to stop, and this is where we're encouraging you to always put your rubbish in a rubbish bin and do lots of recycling. We're by the banks of the mighty Yarraman Creek, which is really the city of Greater Dandenong's creek that's found virtually in the whole of this council area. Now you can see the effects of stormwater pollution on the creek. So Look what we've collected on the Yarraman Creek in just a 20 to 30 metre stretch. You've got gloves, chip packets, soft plastic, disintegrating straws. There's way too much rubbish coming into our creek and river systems. So this is a stark reminder to put rubbish in bins and do lots of recycling. We're here at the internationally significant Ramsar-listed Edithvale-Seaford Wetlands. This area between Frankston and Mordialloc before the colonisation of Australia was once called the huge Carrum swamplands. Now the Dandenong Creek winds its way through and flows into these beautiful Carrum swamplands. It forms part of the Patterson River, it forms part of the Dandenong Creek, and to the north the Mordialloc Creek. These wetlands are a jewel in Melbourne's crown. They get sharp-tailed sandpipers that have been breeding in Alaska and Siberia. They get the beautiful Latham snipe, which breeds in the eastern part of Russia and Japan. And these long-distance migratory birds arrive into these wetlands around September, and they stay with us until about March, April. So it's important that if you're living in the city of Greater Dandenong, that we look after these beautiful wetlands, which are also home to herons and ibis and swamp hens and moorhens and a raft of duck species, by putting rubbish in bins and doing lots of recycling. Because the Dandenong Creek is filtered by these beautiful wetlands. It's important that what we're doing up through Dandenong is kept clean. The gutters are clean, the drains are clean, and our beautifully internationally significant migratory bird wetlands will also be in beautiful condition for when our long distance friends come in from Alaska and Siberia. Okay, so citizens of the city of Greater Dandenong, this is where your creek systems end up flowing to Port Phillip Bay. So whether you're on the Yarraman, the Mile, the Eumemmerring or the Dandenong Creek, as they near Port Phillip Bay, they flow through the Edithvale-Seaford Wetlands, they turn into the larger Patterson River, and here we are down at Carrum Beach on Port Phillip Bay. Now, a quick check on what's washed up on the sand has found some different pollutants that have travelled down the creek to the sea, and you can see there's foam and cigarette butts and bits of plastic and rope embedded in on the sand in the dune. So please look after what you do in the catchments. We're connected to the sea, and a lot of rubbish that might be on the streets in the Dandenong country will actually go down the drains into the stormwater system, flow out into the creeks and end up down here on the sea. So please look after the bay, look after our local creeks, put things in rubbish bins, do lots of recycling.